Greetings, welcome. This is Christine Bundy on Indiana. It is Wednesday, the 19th of April, 2023, and we want to take a moment, first thing, and honor our Creator. All right, we want to make sure that we put in the chat, put your name and what county on Indiana that you currently call home, and so that we can all start connecting with each other and communicating. All right, so we'll go ahead and now I've tried a different setting on the on YouTube. So we'll see how that goes. Right now there aren't any other callers on, so we'll give people time to get in, so sometimes that can create a lag as well, but we'll just keep right on going, and we'll get things moving here. Okay, so we'll get started with the Bivens decision. This is a public meeting. Anyone in this meeting claiming any form of U.S. citizenship or employment with any federal agency is now, for the next segment of this gathering, new member orientation class and general education training, invited to either declare your presence and business here, or we ask you to leave the class at this time. I will repeat, if you are a U.S. citizen or an undeclared federal agent, please raise your hand or vacate our gathering. You can always comment in the chat should you have a comment. All right, so let's see. I don't think that chat box shows up. I think that's only for me, but and then it should follow over for you guys. Okay, so for the third, I will repeat, if you're a U.S. citizen or an undeclared federal agent, please raise your hand or vacate our gathering. Again, for the third and final time, this is notice that if you don't respond appropriately to this Bivens declaration immediately, you are made fully liable for your lack of disclosure, and any so-called evidence that you collect is tainted and inadmissible. No one can attend any of our meetings in secret or in private without answering to a roll call or without announcing or declaring their presence. And just so those that do have an opportunity to come back to the recording, or if you do end up coming in later, remember that the Bivens declaration still holds. So sometimes many will like to come in after that and feel like, well, it wasn't actually given to me, so I don't have to answer that. Well, you're still held because this was brought forward at the beginning. All right, let me move this over where I can still be able to see it. We'll go ahead and get going. All right, so Article 890, books already answer most of the questions. Okay, so Anna's got books, right, as well as her articles, but she's already answered your questions many times, as well as there's been several videos out there by myself and others that answer many of the questions, but you have to take the time to go and look at them instead of wanting a private consult time to get direct questions answered when you could have done some homework too. So books already answer most questions. I've been getting a lot of questions from readers that have already been answered in full officially, right? So she has Disclosure 101. I have these over here. I've got two of them. I do not have the other two that it refers to. So Disclosure 101. All right, and this one is gives the history of what went before the present effort and led into it, which is basically a process of giving notice and due process to those responsible for the current debacle, so that they cannot claim that they did not know about the rampant criminality and weren't given due process opportunity to change it. There are also 11 pages of case and legislation references published for those interested in getting a start in their own research. Okay. Then there is the you know something is wrong when? You know something is wrong when? An affidavit of probable cause. All right. And this is a beginner textbook of the history and the concurrent situation set up as a large print cartoon book. Right? Let me go ahead and show you inside. Okay, large print, and it's got a cartoon. So it's not childish, but it is easily, able to, for those of various ages to be able to take it on. It features abundant citations and illustrations throughout and helpful appendix materials such as the Dun and Bradstreet number for the state governments and various municipalities, providing beyond any doubt that they are incorporated entities and business franchises of the parent corporations, also cited, and an example of a UCC filing. The actual world court charges presented to The Hague and other world courts also appears. And also on the IndianaAssembly.org website, the Debt Redemption Center, there's a tab for it on the top right, and linked in there, you will see the DUNS report for state of Indiana and all the DUNS numbers that have been connected to state of Indiana. So that is there for you to be able to start working with as well. Then there is America Some Assembly Required is a monogram prepared for President Trump, a monograph prepared for President Trump. It is arranged as 50 30-second pieces, like pieces in a jigsaw, that each stand alone, but together build up to create the far bigger picture if you just follow along and let the pieces assemble in your head. This requires a different kind of reading than most people are used to, as you have to read the little sound bites and take it in, and then move on piece by piece instead of plowing straight through in a linear fashion. For those who can do this, this is the fastest means to get up to speed. It also answers many of the questions I have been getting lately about the proper structure of the federal government. Please note that America Some Assembly Required is written from the standpoint of the business history of America and the organization structure of the federal government part of it, as it is supposed to be, not as it is, which in turn shows everyone what needs to happen to restore the government we are owed. Now, for America Some Assembly Required and for You Know Something Is Wrong When, I've got the link there, states.americanstatenationals.org/educational-information-2/ as well as, I think, Disclosure 101 is on the asnsecure.com site, and that is where you can find a lot of American State National products there. Welcome, John, on Lake County. Glad to see you. Glad to see you were able to make the call. I finally got a chance to see that you did comment on the previous call, so I wanted to make sure I got that shout out for you too. So, all right, so we're just chugging along here to keep things going. Again, here is the link to the 50 state site that has access to ANA's America Some Assembly Required, Disclosure 101, and You Know Something Is Wrong When. All right. So Article 1509 for all the General Assembly, 6 pointers and questions. Now, obviously, I'm not going through that entire article, but I pulled out some main points. So what is Mr. Trump's republic about? Because Donald J. Trump is a very popular force right now. He is a mighty energy that is proving very powerful, beneficial. Albeit I see some things a little bit differently, but that's me. But I came out of, I had not canceled voter registration for his first run, and I came out to vote. I had just dropped out of the whole voting scene. My husband and I were ones that, we made it a date. We would go for breakfast, and we would go vote together, and then go out for breakfast. And because for the longest time I usually worked, but we tried to make sure we got our vote in, because we were doing our patriotic duty, right? And so for a few years there, I just like totally dropped out of the scene, the whole politics and voting and everything. But then when it was an opportunity for Trump, I got out and voted on that one. But the second one I did not vote for, because I went ahead and canceled at that point. But that was one of those, it was a bigger moment, even though I know the vote didn't count in any way, shape, or form. It was just one of those that you have to come out for a bigger picture that's for humanity too. Even though not everything lines up perfectly, again, we were still in the, trying to find the best of what we have offered to us. So, okay. So, answer, remember there are two gangs, one territorial and one municipal. Greetings. All right. Go ahead and, how you doing, dear? I saw comments that you did make it on previous calls too, so we want to make sure we get Johnson County shout out. So we got Lake County and Johnson County, and of course I'm here on Gibson County. All right, so, okay, remember there are two gangs. Okay, so the question is, what is Mr. Trump's republic about? The reforms they're making sound great and in line with what you're doing. Should we just wait and see what happens before we make all this effort to form general assemblies? Which, to me, that is a lot of times many will come with a question that's shaped like this because they think, well, maybe they're being more proactive, when really it's their excuse to say, well, maybe we can just wait and not have to do anything, and let's let them just take care of things for us. It's another way of trying to look like you're being helpful but not really do anything. You're actually trying to find a way that's going to get you out of doing some work. That's how that question comes about to me, but I am a mother of 3, so I do kind of have a little bit of experience with those kind of questions that look like they're helpful, but are really ways to try and figure out how to get out of it. Okay, so again, there are two gangs, territorial, municipal. Neither one's supposed to be running the country in the first place, right? So it is the right, duty, and responsibility of the actual people in each state to operate their federation of states. It's not a federal government, it's a federation of states to run this country. And in order to do that, they must take up the work of forming their state general assemblies. Forming and operating our state general assemblies is the only way to fully restore the government we're supposed to have, i.e. finish the Reconstruction and then determine where we want to go from there. Mr. Trump is fully honoring his duty as Commander-in-Chief and protecting America and Americans. For that, he is to be lauded and loved. A great many other presidents have grossly abused their position of trust and have allowed personal cowardice and or self-interest to enter their decision-making processes. I respect Donald Trump, and so should everyone else. He does not act as a lobbyist for the Republican Party, and he does not back down for the Democrat lobbyists either. He charts a course that is best for America as a whole and keeps steady on. And a lot of that is because he was already a made billionaire a few times. We all know that he went through a bankruptcy period and came right on back. He's self-made. He did not go into an office poor to end up leaving office far wealthier than coming in. He already had money, was already from a family of money, so he didn't have any of those energetic fears and manipulative vices that most of the other ones still deal with, because he didn't have to deal with any of those. And the other ones do, and they never figured out how to break those vices and turn them into virtues so that they could be able to actually, do what they said they were doing. And that's where they're completely out of alignment when their words say one thing and their actions are another. Whereas with Trump, you already saw that he built himself. He wasn't leaning on anybody to help hold him up for anything. We should all be grateful to and for Donald Trump, including the millions of rank and file Democrats who have listened to their party leadership and the so-called mainstream media instead of using their own eyes and noses. Whatever Donald Trump's picadillo roster may include, he is devoted to America, to an excellent businessman. And I told my husband decades, because it was back when Ross Perot was running for president, and it was before my husband and I met, obviously, at that point, but Ross Perot was running for president, and I remember making the comment to someone at the time that, well, the U.S. is a corporation, so they need a CEO to actually operate it as a corporation, where most of the ones coming in had no business CEO experience at all. Little did I know at that point in time that it really was. And anyway, so, and then he has a generous heart, and because he's learned that it is the more you give, the more you receive. It is true. It is beyond the law of attraction. Law of attraction is very, very limited. It's not that it isn't a true law. It's a piece of that whole. And it is about that it is you giving with an open heart and a generous heart is always going to fold back in far greater. He has, without undue pressure on the public purse, vastly increased employment opportunities, especially for women, blacks, and Hispanics, expanded our economy, regained control of destructive trade agreements, and is working to secure our border, without which we don't have a country anymore. So are you noticing that there's another wave, just happened to be another wave trying to burst through the borders of the U.S., and now it's a run of Asian men trying to come through the border, a lot of them, and some women, but they're also using children and passports, photo passports of children, or electronic digital passports for children. Right. Being self-made does not allow the love of money to be the root of all evil. Right, exactly. He was able to overcome all of that, right? And pass through rather than trying to pass over. The gross self-interest, and if I may say so, stupidity of the municipal government leadership has led to unnecessary suffering that is entirely the fault of the members of Congress and the bought and paid for press corps, a social class of dishonest, arrogant pretenders who all pull their stories off the same wire service instead of doing anything resembling actual investigative journalism, yet want us to respect and trust their opinions as law. And don't even take it to a vote for any kind of law. They just decide on their own. They are parroting whatever comes in via the Associated Press. And who are they? And Reuters. Who are they? And that has been the degraded and deplorable condition of American journalism for decades. I remember for a few years there that there were people that were able to pull clips from various local news stations and line them all up where there'd be 25, 50 of them all on a screen, and they were exactly in line, verbatim, word for word with each other. But yet, when that's done through the political party, it's keeping a consistent message, right? Oh, okay. Okay, yeah, that finished that one page. Okay, a virtual war has been and is being fought in Hollywood, California, among those who espouse this criminal insanity and those who do not. So, no, we can't afford to sit on our rumps at the stadium and watch the show and do nothing but hope that the territorial team wins. We do have to get motivated and set up our state and county general assemblies and do the work now. Which I want to say she's put in parentheses and county, but we have to start with the state level so that we can get the whole state and once the state is up, then there should be enough on counties, to be able for the counties to start setting up at their, and that gives them their experience at the state level doing the various pieces of it. Okay, 2, shouldn't all state assembly members cancel their voter registrations? Yes, they have to. This goes back to the requirement that all the actual land and soil jurisdiction state governments have forbidding dual citizenship. You're either in or out so far as the states are concerned. The territorial and municipal governments both allow dual citizenships, but in establishing and operating the state general assemblies, we have to work for our state and conduct its business. And this is where many are so confused out there because they're so indoctrinated by how the whole de facto system has been set up that they want so much to help, they want so much to build this, but they don't want to actually come to the assembly and join with the assembly and participate on the committees to actually do that work where you have the support of the assembly, everyone coming together to be able to make that happen. Many want to do it on their own, but a lot of times it is because they really want those that end up listening to them. They just really wanted them to listen to them. And we understand that. We get that, we've all gone through going through our many dark night of the moments and what we've experienced through those. And we want to be heard that, that we worked through those struggles. But sometimes we have to remember that if there's only one state assembly for each of the states, and you have to come together with the state assembly to create the general assembly. You cannot form your own courts out there on your own without having the assembly. You won't be connected to the assembly. You won't have the covering of the assembly. You come to the table together here at the assembly. And that way you all work together for the good of the state. And representing, because you're here to step up to represent the citizens, to help the nationals, all the people in Indiana. Okay, so the territorial and municipal governments both allow dual citizen, but in establishing, so we have to work we have to work for the state, our state, and conduct its business, and it has to come from the people. It's not going to come from, well, we can hire another group to be able to, no, that's what's already out there. At some point, you have to actually do something. You can't just sit around and wait And many just assume it's already there. Many have already assumed that the assemblies have a brick and mortar location that they can just come to, and they also have a fully paid staff that's just sitting by the phone ready to support you. And it's like, I don't see you here helping. Okay, so we got to remember this is a ground up build. Literally a ground up build. It is not like the bus driver that already has the students that are the customers for the bus, that already has the students already lined up and the route already set. No, this is not how that is. This is a ground up. You have to actually do the work. Christine cannot do all the work. There's a lot of this work that my hands are literally tied, because I have to stay in the standing at a status. Even though I have the standing armored up, I have to stay in the status of national in order to be that liaison between the Federation and the people on Indiana. And so there are certain things that my hands are completely tied. There's nothing I can do to be able to move it forward. So while you're all wondering, well, what's Christine doing? All I can do at this point is make sure everybody's strong in their paperwork and work on their general knowledge, and trying to work to get everybody coordinated to say, hey, would you like to start working on this? Let's come together and start getting this going. There's a lot of things that we're waiting on you. You're not waiting on me to do it. If you're waiting on me to do it, your head's in the wrong place, because there are things that I literally cannot do. My hands are tied. I can't even touch supporting the Jural Assembly, and that's an area, that's a field I truly love, and I can't touch it. I can help with coordinating, getting people together, when they're ready to, but nobody's at that point yet. Okay? So these are things you all have to do as the citizens on Indiana. You're the only ones that can do this kind of stuff. Militia, our community emergency response team for out in the public, it's true, right? I mean, there's a lot of things I can do. There's a lot of things I can't. I can't get involved on a peacekeeping aspect because I'm the state coordinator. I can't step up to be, a marshal at arms to help support if needed be, or stand in to help support from an ombudsman type of role, or even, as it is, I'm trying to do what I can to try and bring forward the basic emergency response training to start getting you guys going with it. But that really has to come from you guys really getting all this built and getting this moving. Again, there's a lot of things my hands are tied I cannot do in order to maintain that status. And if I step away from being a state national, from being coordinator, then there's no coordinator. There's no one to be that liaison between the Federation and the people on Indiana. So while everyone's thinking, oh, well, Christine handles it. No, there's a lot of things that just cannot move because my hands are tied. I can't do anything with it. We're waiting for you all to get motivated to get on this. So this goes back to the principle of checks and balances. You can't allow your employees to write their own job descriptions, set their own pay and benefits, and supervise all their own activities, which is precisely what has been going on in this country for far too long. I worked with the County of Monroe auditor and treasurer's office, and State Board of Accounts comes in every year to do an audit. But what's the State Board of Accounts but a part of the state of Indiana? How is that an independent audit each year? Really? How can that possibly be an independent audit? All right. The territorial and municipal governments are both supposed to be dependent on the states to ride herd on their spending and activities. We're supposed to be holding them to their obligations under the terms of the constitutions that apply to them. Not sit around and wait for somebody else to come up and try and do something. You guys have to be the ones to make this happen. Remember that their system is all rigged and set up as two gangs. Your vote determines very little in their matrix. And since the advent of hackable Diebold voting machines, your vote arguably determines nothing at all. I like to use the analogy of, because my husband and I, we lived in downtown Indianapolis from April 2011 till March of 2022. And so I like to use the analogy. It's just like if there was a vote being held at Eli Lilly. Do you think any one of the people there, if they're voting, do you think any one of them actually would, any of those votes would have any bearing on policy within Eli Lilly? It's the same thing. Also remember that whether the issue at hand is territorial or municipal, both are employees of the states. Once you take up your position as the employer, you actually have far more power than any mere voter in their system. It is as a state citizen and elector that you have the contractual ability to control them. Okay? So you've got to take on the mantle of being the employer. Stop being the employee. Become the employer. You will also be doing your part to restore the rightful American government this country is owed. Operating as a state citizen and or state elector allows you to finish the restoration, also known as reconstruction, of the federal states of states, which are supposed to be owned and controlled and operated for the benefit of your state. Not the UK and certainly not the Holy Roman Empire. All right. Then 3, we're confused about which state or states we're supposed to be restoring. You talk about setting up the state general assemblies and then talk about reconstructing the federal states of states. It's important to realize that the actual states have never been involved in any of the chaos and chicanery affecting the states of states. We are so used to seeing state of Missouri, state of Alabama, state of Indiana, so on. And that we started thinking of these organizations as the states, but in fact they're not. The states are operated by the people living in the state. That's you guys, right? The states of states are operated by the employees of the people living in the states. The states have been missing in action because the people have not known that this is their right and responsibility and duty to assemble their state general assemblies. They've been letting George do it literally for far too long. Okay, because the people are sovereign and unincorporated and running the actual state is their business, it has been nobody's right or responsibility to tell them that they have to assemble and conduct themselves, except that the hereditary head of state operating the United States of America, the unincorporated version, can call upon them to assemble as the leader of their federation of states. So that is what has happened. You've all been summoned to assemble your state general assemblies, to operate your states, elect your officers, set up your land and soil jurisdiction courts, reconstruct your federal states of state, exercise your position as an employer.
and reclaim your birthright. Doing so is absolutely necessary at this time because the national trust endures for only 3 generations, and the tail end of those 3 generations has come. We've taken the proper steps to reissue our sovereign letters patent to update and renew the national trust. And now you all need to get off your duffs and pull together your state general assemblies. It is true that we need to reconstruct the federal state of states to act in behalf of the states. But only the people of the states can do any of this. The state citizens of each state must act to restore the federal state of state that they are owed. Thus, it becomes necessary for us to step forward, identify ourselves as one of the people instead of acting in the capacity of a foreign person, and assemble the state first. Then we can reconstruct the federal state of state. Okay? Train. I have a different future in view. We reclaim our reversionary trust interest, act in our declared unincorporated capacity, assemble our state general assemblies, restore our federal state of states, call a continental Congress, and seize back all our purloined public and private assets, including our good names and estates. That's one of the things that the state citizens are to be working on as well, is to find all the property that belongs to the state. We keep our heads together and prosecute them as criminals because that is what they are. We give notice to all the hired law enforcement officers and agency personnel that this is what is going on, and we remind them of their duty to uphold the public law and respect the rights of their actual employers. Meanwhile, we get our own records corrected, okay, and we always go with the knowledge that we have at the time and course correct in the moment, right? If it's something that's really major that needs to be corrected, correct it now. Meanwhile, because we are all coming with new knowledge, as new knowledge comes in, right? Join our state general assemblies, hold our elections for our land and soil jurisdiction, county sheriffs, our justices of the peace, our court recorders, our coroners, our public notaries. And if our public servants, including the members of the bar associations, don't come to heel, we have the option of confiscating their property and deporting them, or exercising extradition and hanging them as traitors and international criminals. All right, so Article 197, questions for Anna. How do we stop this evil? When will a call to action answer God's prayer that we man up against evil? God directs us to man up. Words are easy, and that's all we do in the name of Jesus. The chemtrails are thickening, and my sickness is threatening to complete my murder in the presence of God. If just 10% of the 72% of Americans who are Christian were to stand up and man up, all of our problems would begin to evaporate overnight. Paul, I beg you and Anna and all others in this effort to provide us with direction. Our time is numbered in days. So this was the question that was brought forward. Wherever you are, whoever you are, you can do something to help. Do it. Even if it seems small and insignificant, do it anyway. Say a prayer, stock up on some extra food, show a little extra care for your neighbors, grow some vegetables, pay extra for local and organic food, read more, give your attention to the good and positive people and things around you, give more love to your family, want less, spend a moment simply appreciating a breath of fresh air, a sunset, a wave, a cloud. Be aware that life is precious and that you are not alone, because we're all one Okay, so, and that's where participating with the militia assembly and for out in the public is the CERT group, CERT team, Community Emergency Response Team, coming together where we can where you connect with each other, you support each other in your community, get to know each other, help with growing. We're in spring right now. It's time to get get the seeds out and everything, and plan a little extra so that you can have some to help others. Okay, Article 350, From the Trenches to the Sidelines. Questions answered by Anna. This question was posed this week. Greetings, Jeff. How you doing, Marion County? Welcome. All right. So this is a question that was posed to Anna. This is from August of 2016. Sadly, I feel this brilliant woman needs help rechanneling her energy into very clear and definitive procedures with associated educational pieces for achieving this all. Her articles and rants alone are not productive. Many of us get it, but fail to understand the required steps. We have been burned by these kind of vague and or incomplete procedures, and we have nothing financially or emotionally left to give. Again, I state many of us are willing to help, but we seek definitive, clear, accurate, proven, step-by-step procedure to succeed. I have offered to help to do documentation, and I know others would help too, but the proper mentoring and access for info is essential. Otherwise, the point is less worthwhile. Anna's answer, yes. Well, everyone wants solutions and wants them hot and ready and served on a silver platter, along with, no less, a guarantee that this is the no-fail, foolproof, all-exclusive answer. But it is a lot harder and less certain than that. Our entire country has been overtaken by thieves, and while we slept, it has been robbed and plundered, and our ship of state nearly sunk to the depths. You want guarantees from murderers? You want certainty from thieves? The most you can hope to do is to rouse up your neighbors, clue everyone in, and expose the rats for what they are and what they're doing in hopes that the fear of God and 390 million angry Americans will be sufficient to start the ball rolling in the right direction. Again, sounds like somebody's trying to make it seem as though that they're coming from a better place when they're still doing nothing themselves in bringing this about. Don't tell me anything about being tired and having exhausted yourself searching for remedies and documents and procedures. It took 150 years to get into this mess, and it sure as blazes will take each and every one of us a lot more than 15 minutes to get out of it. I've grown old in this struggle, and I still put in 18-hour days on a regular basis. If you think this is easy, a matter of putting together a few templates and procedures, go home and have a nice warm bath. And while you're offering help, you're at the same time complaining and still not providing any actual support. And that's what many like to do. Oh, I'm willing to help here. I'm willing to help here. Complain about everything, but it's like, okay, so we can use some help here. Where are you? Nowhere. But you're sure willing to say that you know, more needs to be done. Okay. This is not going to be solved by shuffling a few pieces of paper and yawning over your next cup of tea or coffee. Nor is it going to be sitting around on sofas or in comfy chairs just to commiserate with everyone about what has been going on. That's not solving the problems either. We're beyond that sitting around just talking about it. We all know that it's happened. It's time to get out of the pit now. This is only going to be solved by 390 million people waking up and taking action in their own towns and villages, their own cities and marketplaces. If they can do it in other countries, why can't Americans, not U.S. citizens, because we know U.S. citizens don't want to do their own homework or do any kind of work, but still want to get paid. Our living law firm is engaged at the forefront of the battle, and what are we finding out is jaw-dropping, staggering. But believe me, none of it is easy, and none of it implies any simple solution short of public hangings. This is the beginning of a process, but it is the foundation and most important step, and it will take anywhere from 6 weeks to 2 months to complete, so don't stand around winding your watch and moaning about not having anything to do and not being offered any procedures. You've been told repeatedly what to do and to do it right now. Okay. Article 1565, Answers to Common Questions and Misconceptions for the General Assemblies. And of course, I'm not putting all the article in there in all of these. It's many or lengthy. Number 2, misconception number 2, that people have to give up things like Social Security payments or medical coverage owed to them by federal government agencies if they reclaim their birthright political status. Most Americans never knowingly left their birthright political status. This was merely a self-interested legal presumption being misapplied to millions of people based on equally self-interested falsification of registration documents and improper demands that we apply for Social Security, register to vote in what appeared to be public elections, and so on. Having to take action to rebut this legal presumption is anti-intuitive to most people, and the resulting confusion is paralyzing, especially when they assume that they will lose pension dividends and health care and other things of value that they're owed. Fortunately, the only thing we lose is the ability to vote in private elections hosted by foreign corporations, which is quickly made up for as we hold our own public elections instead. Once we return our given names, also known as trade names, to the land and soil jurisdiction of our states of the Union, we are no longer in la-la land, and we can no longer be presumed to be in the Queen's service or the Pope's. All the franchises they have gifted us with are similarly under new ownership, American ownership, not U.S. citizen ownership. The only impact this has is that both the Queen and the Pope and all their employees are now obligated to obey the constitutions and the public law of this country again with respect to you and your assets. But you have to serve them notice too. You can't just sit around and hope that others are going to be serving enough notices that it'll cover us. No, it has to happen. I have got 50 packets. They've got all the notices already printed in them. They're already stuffed into the envelopes. And I've put together the cover letter. And I do need to print another. I'm going to have to do another 42 bundles. So that because when you're doing some of these mailings, like if it's going to all the, like right now I'm putting together to send to all the county prosecutors of the notices. So of course there's 92, but you don't want to just send a few here and there. It really needs to send them all as close to the same time as possible. But I still have to print out 42 more of the notices, and I have updated the letter that is going to be the cover letter that goes with it, and I've already put together the labels. Got all the county prosecutor names, addresses, and everything, so that all is ready. So it's taking a little bit of time, but we're moving forward. But this is a part 2 of trying to starting to notify. So the prosecutor county prosecutors are getting that first run now of all these notices. We're just going to go straight to the county prosecutors to get started. Next, then will be courts. I've already got mailing addresses set up for those as well, so it'll be in rounds. Okay, so the magic words, because we're still dealing with, people are worried about if they lose any Social Security or pension, things like that. So the magic words are, I accept all gifts and waive all benefits. Benefits are gifts that come with strings attached, unseen, unstipulated, undisclosed contracts and conditions that you are presumed to know and accept when you accept the benefits. Okay, the situation is analogous to going to work for a foreign corporation in a foreign country. While you are in that foreign country, you obey its laws. You also obey the internal laws of the corporation you work for. When you quit or retire and return home, what happens? You're no longer living under the laws of that foreign country and are back living under the laws of your own country. That's for starters. The corporation you worked for still owes you every bit of your pension plan. That includes medical services, not benefits, and monthly dividend payments, not benefits, right? They're monthly dividend payments, they're not benefits. And it's medical services, not benefits. It's the same way with Social Security and Medicare. They still owe you every jot, and they owe it to you as earned dividends and services, not as benefits. Similarly, the franchises and accounts held in your name and created for you have been mischaracterized as belonging to U.S. citizens and or citizens of the United States. These franchises and accounts are toxic to you until you return home to the land and soil of your state of the Union via expatriation from any federal citizenship and claim ownership of them as an American state national or American state citizen. It's the difference between benefits and earned dividends again. As a U.S. citizen or citizen of the United States, you're obligated to pay all the bills related to these franchises and accounts created in your name. But as an American state national or an American state citizen, you're the inheritor of the assets and credits owed to these accounts. Suffice it to say that as long as you cling to your identity as a U.S. citizen or citizen of the United States, you're a pauper by definition, obligated to function under foreign law, obligated to obey foreign corporation policies, obligated to pay for every whim of the British Territorial Congress. But when you reclaim your birthright political status, you're owed the return of everything that is rightfully yours. Your trustees, the British monarch and the Pope, have to act as your trustees again and return your borrowed property, plus interest, leases, fees, etc. So you lose absolutely nothing of any importance when you return to your birthright political status, and you regain all that was stolen and commandeered, including your constitutional guarantees. As you will be conducting your own elections and dealing with your own issues and taking control of your own purse strings, you will not need to overly concern yourself with the circus in Washington, D.C., and you will have no reason or desire to participate in their political parties. And the more that Americans push back, the more they'll be pushed out of that area too. The world will come back into focus and the tail will stop wagging the dog once enough people understand the circumstance and take the necessary action. 1, reclaim your birthright political status. 2, join your state general assembly and boot it up. All right, this this is the last article here. So the Article 3973, another supremely worthy question and answer. The question was asked by Dr. Karen Kensington. Why do we participate in evil? You can avoid evil and avoid participating in evil by learning to recognize evil for what it is and how it operates. By lies, by presumptions and assumptions, by news that isn't news, by popular opinion and groupthink, and by half-truths, by assertions of authority and exercise of authorities that don't exist. By failure to think for yourself, by allowing the merchants of doubt to call you into question, by not settling things when they are wrong. All right. Oh. Okay. So here are, Anna did a series. I think we even went through the one article of the answers to common questions and misconceptions for the General Assemblies, but there's the link again. But then Anna went through a series of 8 there of common misconceptions, and that would be a great one that would also support some of the questions as well that you may be having. All right, and so here's again what the status requirements are. Being a general, there's no member agreement needed to be a general member, assembly member. It's when you're wanting to then actively participate at that point. So everyone presents birth certificate and or supporting documents. That's to show which land they were born on. If they were born on another country, or a U.S. territory or possession, then they would do the deed of conveyance, not the deed of reconveyance. If they were born on one of the 50 states, or they were their parents were in the military and they were born on a military base, then they can adopt one of their parent state, preferably the one that has the oldest family history on that state. And so then you would adopt that state, and then it would be, and then you, if you were born on a base, then you would adopt a parent's state, and then you could do the deed of reconveyance with that. And 2 witness testimonies. That means 2, not two copies of the same witness testimony from the same witness. 2 separate men or women preferably over the lawful age of 21, and have known you for at least 7 years. If you are an immigrant, you'll need to present whether you've done the U.S. naturalization process, green card, or if you're choosing the 7 years undocumented. Even though it says undocumented, there are ways to be able to provide documenting to verify that you have lived on the 50 states for at least 7 years. Okay, so that is so that those first elements there for birth certificate, primarily birth certificate, and whether an immigrant status determines which 1779 to do and which deed to do, whether it's the reconveyance or conveyance. All right. Federal persons are fully eligible to be able to come to attend General Assembly calls, share in events, things like that. Can vote on local elections here, but they just cannot be elected. They're not going to be able to participate in the reconstruction itself, but still can come to assembly calls so that they can stay informed, so that when they do move out of that capacity, that they'll still be able, then they can be able to step up and serve in a more correct capacity. Okay, and then for moving forward into a participating assembly member, this is where you have to have all the additional cancellations. So this is for to ensure there's no conflict of interest for the assembly. As well as because they weren't doing this for the de facto, so we need to be able to make sure that that we are here to be able to support the people of Indiana and not having self-interest. Okay, here are links to products and services, link to if you want a 30-minute consult with me, or if you're ready to, if you want to record and publish your status correction, if you need a document prep service. It's not required, but it is available to you. And the doc prep service is provided by myself, so that way to help you as much as I can with your paperwork to be as accurate as we can with the knowledge that we have in this time. And then here are additional opportunities for learning that the Federation offers, as well as calls for the assembly, like this evening and every other Sunday evenings are trainings that's focused on assembly building at that point. All right. That was all I had for this evening. Do we have questions? All right, so let me know how this worked. Did it was the lag a little bit easier this time than it has been the past few times? It was driving me crazy because I'd have to watch YouTube and still be in OBS to be able to do it. And then, and there were times there was one time it was lagged so bad I was already at the end of the presentation. And anyway, so, let me know how that worked. If I did, if I was able to keep that going, it was easy. Okay, good. So that helpful. Yes, thank you. Okay, so I think I figured out what little switch I had to click on for that one that made it different. So I will make sure, and I'll do that for another 2 or 3 to make sure that it does work well. Hopefully we'll have more opportunities with more on a call so any bandwidth, so we can see how that works. And then I'll be able to get it set up to where I can have like a whole run of scheduled calls set up on YouTube. So, as opposed to waiting till last minute kind of thing too. What notices? Oh, the notice of conflict bundle that I've been putting in several presentations for the assembly. There is a bundle. Hold on just a moment and I will get it. All right. Okay, her articles. Notice of conflict at law. Public and international notice of personage and barratry crimes. Public and international notice of treason. Public and international notice of claim and notice of crimes of property and crimes of enslavement. Public and international notice up to the Bar Association, 30-day warning. Which, by the way, Anna does have a lien with the Bar Association, and I think it's even out on the website. It's been a little bit, but I added on to that too. Okay, public and international notice of trespass and breach of trust. This is still in that bundle of notices. Hold on, this one's a long one. The final explanation in Great Britain's role. So that way, because we've got it, we're educating, right? This was all still part of the bundle that, from Anna's articles, that the, all the state assemblies coordinators put together. Naval Agency and Distribution Act of 1864. Bingo. Article 3680, the Public Employers Directive. So that then gives them the direction about breaking things. Either get in alignment or dissolve. And then the last article in the bundle is our remedies. Okay. Now, this is all double-sided, and this is 50 some pages here. I've got 50 of the notices themselves put together, and I don't have that. Okay, so let me pull up, because I have done updated a cover letter to go with it. Oh, I hope you saved that, because the computer had to do its little shutdown play. Okay. All right, so I have one letter here. I will get the display so you can see. And get me some minimized data here. All right, so here is one of them here. This one's directly to Holcomb. This is a second response to my communications to you registered mail number, and that's when I had sent it out previously, dated September 23rd, 2020, to again, as lawful and legal notice that the properly populated Indiana Assembly is in session. The Indiana State Trust is now vested in us, and we acknowledge and accept it. Note that we have not declared any emergency related to the coronavirus and do not authorize any face masks, contact tracing, forced vaccinations, boosters, or lockdown measures. Nor do we give any directive to develop any relationships with the... And I highlighted that because I want to because I couldn't remember at the time when I was doing this, what was it that Holcomb went to? What was it? World Economic Forum, I want to say, was what he went to, and I want to add that in, but I wanted to make sure before I pulled it together. And then I've got to assign a registration. This is for one whole packet just to go to Holcomb. And then it pulls per ex parte Milligan 71 US 2, which applies to our population. No legislative, executive, or judicial officer may disrespect or our constitutional guarantees, regardless of any emergency. Reference Article 4 to understand your obligations to protect our persons and property without arrest, invasion of our privacy, or other imposition. Reference the affixed notice of fraud, including directive hereby presented by the people of Indiana, domiciled on the land and soil jurisdiction of Indiana. Return your employees and dependents to normal status as soon as possible. Peace be with you. Okay, so that is that letter for Holcomb. And let me make sure nope, that's not it. I'm one of those that has like 50 things up at a time. My kids are always harassing me about it. Oh, I bet it didn't say. Oh, I hadn't got it. Yeah. Okay, so let me pull it up from here so you can be able to... Nope, that's going to take me a minute because when my computer did that whole shutdown on its own. Okay, so, but that is the cover letter for Holcomb. And what I'm doing is, and if you go out to the Assembly website, which that I can get that up and show ya. Hold on. Oh, it's here. Nope. Yeah. I will pull it up here just a moment. I gotta see, where did I put it? Oh, ta-da! Public record. That would be okay. So let me share. So we're on the website, and I'm just, that was the page I was already up because I'm on it a lot, sharing. Okay, so public record. I gotta move this, I can't see. Okay, public record. Notices. Alright, so here are the ones that all the letters that I sent in 2020. These really should be done on an annual basis. So it was, so now this one here. Okay, so this governor letter, that's what I just read to you, but updated it. So I've already worked on getting it updated. What is that? Let's see. Okay, so here is the one that will be going out to, because this is for various state of Indiana officials for the directive. This is what was sent out, and so I'm going to update it and send it on out again. Alright, and so this is a very lengthy one, but it goes into getting things in order. So, and that's what I will be doing with that, to be able to get these are all the, okay, so here is, this was to the IRS. So now I guess the resident has not only changed from Reddick to O'Donnell to now Werfel, something like that. Okay, so there's this was relative to supporting the mochi process for us, which can be sent again. These notices are always, we can, and really we want to send things at least 3 times, right? I think this is still that same one. Oh, and this is one then that went to the representatives. So I'll be able to put these together for the because they need to be sent again. But right now my first run is I'm doing to the county prosecutors at this point first. And then next will be another, we'll send again to the representatives, but I really want to, we need to send the courts. All right. Well, let's see. Where do I go to get it? Get a copy to send a copy of the notices? Is that what you're asking, Jeff? Okay, let me show you. Hold on. Don't need me and all that. Go to Debt Redemption Center. I hope I do still have this right. Yeah, okay. So scroll. One of these links in here is the notice. Here it is. Notice of conflict of law. That's the whole packet right there of all those that I read off to you. Articles. Notice of conflict of law. It's under the one dated January 11th of 2023. Here is also the State of Indiana DUNS report. Here is the master list of all the DUNS for of at least what was they were able to connect with the state of Indiana in the report. So you have those links there. Here is the list or a link to the Indiana Judicial Districts directory. So I'll be putting together all the address labels for those, as well as the Indiana Supreme Court directory, and then the full court directory. So there's where the But here's where that bundle that I just read of notices you can print right here. We'll be able to see 54 pages in this. Okay, and that has all those articles combined that I read. Okay, does that help? Okay. And you can always send to your they're not your representatives, but you can send to the district and state representatives with the state of Indiana for your area to serve them notice. You can always send it to your anyone within your county, right? Start close and move out, right? They still need to be served notice, as well as it will help to educate them, right? All right. Did that help? Any other questions? All right. We'll go ahead then, wrap things up. I want to thank you all. I put in the link in the chat thing, I think is the link for this presentation. Yeah, so you'll be able to have it for review as well. All right, so thank you all for coming to the call this evening, and hopefully we'll see you on Sunday's call, and of course on next week's call. But of course, as always, peace and love. Take care. I'll figure this out.